Let me quote to you, sir, from this Ministry of Finance Department of Economic Affairs. Note of the 30th of January 2008, 15 days after, 20 days after spectrum was given out. This has the signature of the Finance Secretary, and it talks about the Finance Minister being present. And he says, and this is very important, the Finance Minister suggests that keeping in view lessons of experience, allotment of licenses and allocation of spectrum must be based on solid legal grounds. And the next paragraph is even more important. It was agreed that the optimum number of operators per circle should be 7. The international norm is about 6. If there are more licensees per circle, it is possible that consolidation will take place. Government should ensure that such consolidation happens in a healthy way without any rent seeking. The Finance Minister, aware of the possibility of speculative purchase, about the possibility of rent seeking, about the need to have only 7 operators per circle, all this wisdom dawning just 20 days after.
And what did TRIA say? That there should be no limits? That there should be no lids? There should be no restriction? Why are you reading selectively? Please understand. Why are you reading selectively? There are many decisions that were taken that I would not take. There are many decisions that I would want to take that somebody else would not accept. I'm no expert in the area of telecom. Telecom people will tell you what you're doing is wrong. A lot of people say to us today, why don't you cancel all these licenses? Why don't you consensually take back all these licenses? And why don't you auction?
When the Finance Minister knows that there is possibility of speculative purchase, of rent seeking, and he's saying this just 20 days after the allocation of spectrum, why did he not put his foot down before the licenses were given out?
And do what?
The rules of business of the government, you're fully aware, allow him to put his foot down when he knows there will be a financial loss to the government.
Forget about it. You are talking about two different things. Somebody should not be able to make some money, and the government should not lose some money, are two different things. Two different things. There are many issues. There are many issues in which people make money because that's what the commercial and that's what the business situation permits them to do. Now, every time somebody makes money because he or she has got something out of government, and on that person has built something and made money, and you say this money should not come. Now, there are principles in which you can apply. Jairam is trying to apply this principle to land acquisition. Every time you acquire land and then sell it, you're supposed to give a portion of that benefit to the person from whom you acquired the land. This didn't happen in the past. So you're improving upon systems from the past. You want to now add something more equitable. So by hindsight, you can say a lot of things should have been different. But what was the prevailing, accepted at that time, the wisdom about handling a field that was a virgin field where we wanted penetration, we wanted greater expansion, a larger footprint, affordable tariffs. That's something that the Planning Commission document said. That is what the Cabinet said. And now suddenly we feel, my God, you could have done better if you hadn't sold it at 1600. We could have done much better. Of course you could have done much better. But at that point, you could only have taken a decision based on the knowledge of the market or knowledge of the expertise, knowledge of the public domain that was then available.
I have two final questions before I end. Will the Home Minister and the Finance Minister, after all this bad blood has built up, be able to work together henceforth?
They're working together. Will they be able to work together is a question that doesn't arise. They are working together. Please, I wish you'd had your cameras in the Cabinet today. They are very close to each other. They respect each other enormously. They can disagree. I've disagreed with various other colleagues in the Cabinet, but that doesn't mean that we become adversaries. We're still friends.
The opposition says your government is collapsing under the weight of its internal contradictions.
So we are weighty. So they concede that we are weighty. All we now need to do is to ensure that we handle our weight. That's all, isn't it? Now, when you look at Mr. Arun Jaitley and you look at me, please watch who's weighty, who's got more weight and who's got more to worry about.
But do you think this government will last its full term?
The Prime Minister has said so, and I think when the Prime Minister says something, and the Prime Minister of this country is no ordinary man, his ministers must immediately follow suit and say, yes, that's what we will do.
But would you concede that the credibility of the government, the perception about this government has come down in the eyes of the Indian people because of all these squabbles, contradictions, fights, scams? It doesn't have the same level of credibility it did earlier.
No. That's why you give 5 years. That's why you don't give a government 6 years to perform. You give a government 5 years to perform. You have graphs going up, you have graphs coming down, but at the end of the day, when elections are held and people look back in 5 years, they should be able to say we've had a good government, We have a government we are comfortable with. It's a lot better than anybody else could be. And then we'd like to see them back in power.
All right. Mr. Salman Khurshid, thank you very much for speaking to us. Thank you.